You may have heard of Kentucky Fried Chicken, but now it's time for Croatian Fried Chicken. Yes, of course, Croatia has its own version of this classic dish, known locally as Pohani Picek, or literally fried chicken. This recipe comes from my grandma, and she would make it when I was a kid, and probably one of my best memories of going over there, and she'd have fried chicken along with some French fries. There's nothing better than that. So come along as we learn how to make Pohani Picek. Making fried chicken is definitely one of the easiest things that you can make. It requires basically only 4 ingredients. Of course, your chicken. I'm using chicken breast. And then for the dredge, you need flour, eggs, and breadcrumbs. And that's it. It is the easiest thing. The simplest thing, requires almost nothing, and there's no excuse to not make it. So let me just clean everything up over here, and we'll get into cutting up the chicken. So for the chicken, you can cut up into basically any shape that you like. I'm gonna go with strips. However, this is one meaty chicken. This is only part of the breast. I took the rest off earlier, but it was about 1 kilo. That's just over 2 pounds for both breasts, which is absolutely insane. Like, that must have been 1 unit of the chicken. So we'll just cut up the chicken. I think I'll go halfway across here. So about this size in length, seems pretty good enough. And you want to make the chicken thin enough that it will cook through all the way before anything on the outside burns, but also thick enough that there's something to it and you're not just having like little tiny strips. Let me just rearrange everything on the cutting board. So something like maybe this size of chicken would be perfect. You could go a little bit bigger. Cut the breast into 3 pieces, so you have your nice chicken strips. Go ahead and cut up the rest of them, and then we'll get into the dredge. So now that the chicken is all cut up, off camera I also season it with some salt and pepper. It's time to move on to the dredge. The dredge is your basic flour, egg, and breadcrumb in that order. And this is called Dredge, or in the Viennese way. It's probably the most common way that you'll be frying food, especially over in America. This is how I've always done it. However, there are some other ways you can go about the dredging process, and that'll change what it's known as. So if you don't have breadcrumbs, don't worry. You can go flour, egg, back to flour. We call that an or in the Parisian way. Or if you want to maybe spice it up a bit, you can add some Parmesan cheese in with the breadcrumbs, and then that's called or in the Milanese way. So any other way you want to do it, add some flavor or flair. But I'm just going to stick with the normal Dredge, the Viennese way, which is flour, eggs, and breadcrumbs. So to dredge, just take your chicken and put it into the flour. You don't want to really coat the chicken heavily. Basically just put it in there and lift it up, and anything that falls off is fine. You just want to keep what sticks. After the flour, roll around in the eggs. It's the same process here. Just hold up a bit to let any excess egg drip off. You don't want to have too much extra, just whatever can stick on. After all the egg falls off, that's not going to stick, into the breadcrumbs. And once again, just whatever will stick to the chicken is fine. Place it on a plate and then go through for the rest of the chicken. So I'm going to go through, dredge the rest of them, and then we'll head on over to the stove to put them into the oil to fry. So once your chicken is breaded and your oil is hot, it's time to put it into the stove. Onto the stove, not into the stove. Do not put anything into your stove. That's really bad for your stove. To make sure that your oil is hot enough, just take 1 piece of your chicken and dip the legs in. And if it starts to fizzle up, it's good. And drop the chicken in, always away from you. Be sure not to crowd the pan. You want to make sure everything gets a good golden crust. Okay. I'm using clarified butter, which has the milk solids taken away, so you can have it up to a higher heat without worrying about the milk solids themselves burning. But also make sure that you're not too high of heat, because you don't want any sort of breadcrumbs that fall off to start to burn. It can really turn the oil and give a bad taste to your later chickens that you're frying. So let this sit for maybe 3 to 4 minutes, just until it's golden brown, and flip over. Once it's golden brown on both sides, remove to a side pan. I have one here with paper towels on top to catch any oil, and then go ahead and fry the rest. So you get into a little groove, dredge, fry, and then while the first one's frying, dredge the next one, so you're constantly moving over. You can make it go a little bit quicker. I'll be back once everything else has been fried. So after all of your chicken is dried up and left to rest and drain any extra oil, put them onto a plate and serve. You can serve them with french fries, because who doesn't love french fries along with fried chicken? Or honestly, you could have them just as they are. These are amazing. Also, you could use them as a starter for something else that you needed breaded chicken for, maybe a sandwich, mix it in with pasta. Honestly, the options are endless, but these things on their own are the greatest thing in the world. So there you have it, Pohani Picek. Dobar tek.